This is my supplement tier list. In this tier list, I want to do something a little different than you might expect. As you might know, I'm not one of those science-based fellas. I prefer to stay just based. That is why the supplements I chose to rate in this tier list will try to stay as much as possible in the realm of reality. In other words, I don't think it would be beneficial to anyone if we just start ranking random chemicals. Rather, we will rank the most popular and the most impactful supplements, because that's the information that you will be able to actually use in your life. Alright, just this one time I'm gonna give you one random chemical tip. If you take pre-workout and your bum suddenly starts to itch really bad, then it's because that pre-workout most likely has beta-alanine in it. Anyway, now that we have helped that one guy with itchy bum, we can actually start with the tier list. But you know what I gotta say before we get into it. I'm not a medical professional of any kind. Shocking, I know. Unfortunately, having a PhD in simplifying doesn't count. Alright, let's get it started. First up, we have the good old creatine. Without a doubt, this is the single best natural supplement if you want to look bigger and get a little stronger. I don't think there is much to add at this point. If you are looking to start taking any supplements, this should be the first thing you look into. That's why it's going straight into S tier. Next up, we have protein powder. You simply can't go wrong with that, because protein powder is the protein of highest quality. Yes, even the vegan protein powder is created in a way that makes it into a complete protein source. And that is the reason why it is such a good supplement. Of course, protein powder is not a must-have in any shape or form, but it is very useful to have it. That's undeniable. Because everyone sometimes encounters a situation in which you just need to get in your protein in a fast and convenient way. But protein powder is not some magical thing that will help you build more muscle than if you just ate regular food, so don't stress if you don't have it. It's simply a convenient replacement. So protein powder is definitely an S tier supplement. Which couldn't really be said for the next entry in our tier list, which is BCAAs. If you went back in time by like 10 to 15 years and you asked someone in the gym if they are taking BCAAs, the answer would probably be yes 9 times out of 10. But it kind of turns out that we have been taking it for basically no reason at all. Because to build muscle, you need all 9 essential amino acids, but BCAAs have just 3 of them. That's all you get. And when you think about it for about 2 more seconds, you realize that you just need to eat high quality protein sources, like meat or eggs for example. And you will easily have all the essential amino acids you need to build as much muscle as possible. So please, stop buying BCAAs, because you are just paying for powder that doesn't really do anything. I feel like the only use case could maybe be for vegans, because the plant-based foods are basically all incomplete protein sources, which means that they are either completely missing or are very low in certain amino acids. But even then, you could just solve this problem by eating a wider variety of plant-based foods instead. So it might have some super niche use case, but for majority of people this is just a waste of money. So it's going into the C tier. Then we have to take a look at mass gainers. But before we do that, let me super quickly show you my training plans. They are simple, effective and easy to follow, so you will not feel confused or overwhelmed. You can take a look by clicking the first link in the description. Now back to mass gainers. They are kind of a double-edged sword. Why, you might ask? Well, if you are in a need of a mass gainer, you are probably a skeleton. So it would kind of make sense to buy a mass gainer. But the thing is, they are usually filled with absolute garbage. So you would be much better off just eating regular food. Would consuming a mass gainer help you gain weight? Yeah, of course. But I feel like there is so many other good ways of going about gaining weight than an overpriced mass gainer that I just can't rank it very highly. Because it's mostly just overpriced garbage that is targeted towards beginners. It would be a much better idea to just buy a protein powder and mix it with some other foods like milk, peanut butter or bananas, and make your very own mass gainer shake at home, which would be much more effective and also cheaper and healthier. That's why I'm gonna put it in the C tier. Next up is pre-workout. Pre-workouts are great, right? Well, yeah, but there is one very big issue with pre-workouts that people don't understand. And no, I'm not referring to that itchy problem. The problem with pre-workouts and caffeine in general is that when used incorrectly, you will not be getting any benefits, only negatives, and we don't want that. That's why you need to learn how to use pre-workouts strategically. Sure, it might be fun to use it every single workout, but then your body is gonna quickly adapt to what you're doing, and it's gonna stop being effective. So the single best thing that you can do is to, for example, only take it on leg days. Simply put, you want to focus on making your most difficult days a little easier, and not just blast it all the time when it's not necessary. If you use pre-workouts or caffeine only when you truly need them, you will be able to get so much more out of them. I will put the pre-workout/caffeine in the A tier. But remember, it's only useful when used properly. Now it's time to drift away a little bit from the traditional gym supplements and get more into the overall health supplements. But funnily enough, these supplements might end up being even more impactful than those classic gym supplements. First one of them is omega-3s, which are essential fatty acids that your body can't make on its own, so you have to get them from food or supplements. The simplest way of getting in your omega-3s is by supplementing with fish oil. And I know what you're thinking, fish oil, yuck. But these days, most of the brands make it in a way in which you won't even smell or taste anything, so it's completely fine. Omega-3s is something that a lot of people are deficient in, so if you are not eating any fatty fish at all, you would most likely benefit from supplementing with fish oil. Of course, I'm not a doctor in any shape or form, but I can tell you personally that I wasn't really eating any fish at all, and I was indeed deficient in that area. So I'm gonna put the omega-3s in the A tier. A very similar story applies to our next entry, which is vitamin D. As you might know, you mainly get vitamin D from sunlight. But the thing is, most people are just not getting enough sunlight. I guess it depends a lot on where you live and what you do. If you are living in Finland as a software engineer, you are probably as pale as this MS Paint background. But if you are a construction worker in Florida, then you probably have so much vitamin D that you could supply the entirety of Finland with it. And you would still probably have some left. Having enough of vitamin D is truly a game changer, but if you already have enough of it, there is no need to supplement it. So it's a solid A tier. Next up, we have multivitamin. The interesting thing about it is that yes, it works, but a lot of people don't understand the purpose of a multivitamin. The main role of a multivitamin is to patch up the holes in your diet, to make sure that you have enough of every important vitamin in your system. Which means that if your diet is already pretty good, you don't really need a multivitamin, because you already got all you needed from your diet, and the multivitamin you are adding on top just doesn't do anything. It's basically the same thing as with protein powder. If you are getting enough protein from your diet, then there is no reason to add even more protein on top by supplementing with protein powder. So really, multivitamin is only really useful if you know that there are some holes in your diet. That's why it's going into the B tier. It does what it's supposed to, but probably not necessary for most of the people. Our next entry in the tier list is electrolytes. Electrolytes are minerals that make sure that your body keeps functioning properly when you are doing some kind of physical activity. As you could have noticed, I said minerals, which means that electrolytes are not some kind of fancy supplement. Electrolytes are just simple minerals like salt. The reason why I'm mentioning salt in particular is because that is the main electrolyte you should keep an eye out on. That is why those electrolyte drinks you see in the store taste so salty. Which then brings up a question. Do you really need those electrolyte drinks or any electrolyte supplements? If you are just a regular person that works out in the gym, which is probably the vast majority of you watching, and your workouts are only around like an hour or so, you don't really need any electrolyte supplements. Supplementing with electrolytes is mainly important to people who are doing activities where they sweat a lot, because that is how your body is losing those electrolytes. That is why sweat is so salty. So if you are a boxer, a long distance runner, or anything like that, electrolytes are an absolute S+ tier for you. But if you are just chilling in a gym, you don't really need it. That is why in this more bodybuilding focused tier list, it's going to go into the B tier. And now, the best for last. Let's talk about testosterone boosters. A lot of you might not be happy, but testosterone boosters are just scams. Because if they were not, people would not be getting a hormone replacement therapy. They would just pop some test booster and be good, right? You know, the thing with test boosters is that you are just buying a proprietary blend of some herbs. Which is what I want to talk about. Proprietary blends. So what is a proprietary blend? If you have ever looked at a nutrition label of some supplement, you have probably already seen it before. Proprietary blend is the list of ingredients that is showing you what is included in that blend. But the trick is, they don't tell you how much of what is in the blend. And that's exactly why majority of test boosters are very shady. They can claim that they put XYZ super effective herbs into their product, but because it's a proprietary blend, you have no idea of how much is actually in it. For all you know, it could be 1 milligram. That's the problem. The only thing you can hold on to when it comes to proprietary blends is that they must list the ingredients in order of how much of it is in the product. This means that the first ingredient on the list is the one present in the highest amount, while the last one is present in the lowest amount. And that is exactly where they put all those super fancy ingredients in a very symbolic microdose, so that they can then put it on the packaging and say, hey, look, it's in there. That is the magic of proprietary blends, and the reason why vast majority of testosterone boosters will not do anything at all. Rather than trying to increase your testosterone through shady supplements, you should work on fixing your lifestyle. That will increase your testosterone by so much more than some random proprietary blend. That's why the only place where I can put the test booster is the scam tier. And that's all the supplements that I prepared for you today. I hope you found it useful. Please don't forget to check out the training plans in the description. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. If you like this video, then go ahead and check out this one too.